Will be led in prayer by Alderman Gallagher. After that, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And we'll ask, as usual, Alderman Payne to lead us in that.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we ask you to come before us tonight, Lord. And we ask for your spirit of wisdom in all the decisions that we make tonight, Lord. Lord, we pray for our community. Lord, for the things that have gone on this week, Lord, I pray for our community to come together, Lord, and love one another like we're supposed to. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda this evening is approval of minutes for the January 21, 2020 meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 21st, 2020 with any additions, deletions, or corrections.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is authorization for naming right advertising for our Greenbrook Indoor Training Facility. And I'll go ahead and start the discussion on that to update everyone about this. Several years ago, City has the right through state law to advertise on buildings, and obviously at Stone Grove Park, the Bank Plus deal we got signed in 2014, and there was one prior to that to provide revenue to the city for the advertising value that these facilities give. As we've expanded our parks, enhanced our parks, we have more opportunities now. We still have some that have been built prior to now that we're working on, making sales calls, trying to find that right sponsor, tennis, and then we also have Greenbrook. The facility's almost done. Then we also will have soccer later this year that will be complete in late 2020. If it stops raining, maybe 2021. But either way, this is a great opportunity for advertising. This is naming the building itself. It's not changing the name of the park. It still will be Greenbrook Park like it's been for many, many years. But this would give naming rights to the indoor training facility. Obviously, we would allow whoever this sponsor is to put their logo and their sponsor ad on the building. So we believe that it's a great advertising opportunity and a great way for the city to generate some revenue. Just seeing the big picture here and communicating that. Every chance that we get to generate a dollar, that's $1 less of a tax burden for our citizens. So we've done a good job in our parks program generating advertising revenue. This will add to that, and so we think it's a great move. The board, y'all know that Tish Dunning, we hired Tish back in the summer. She's our public communications officer, and part of her responsibility with that was to assume the role of marketing. So her role involves a lot of things with the media, but also she's perfect for, while she's out promoting our city, telling about the advertising opportunities that are out there as well. So she will be the one that that helps us with the marketing of these facilities. So basically that's it. So if we can move on from there if there's any other discussion. But basically what we're asking for tonight is just authorization to name it and then to actually start negotiations. We're in the baby steps of this, so we want to get some prospects out there that are interested. And then I want to be able to negotiate the price for that, to bring a contract back to you.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we authorize the Parks Department to advertise for naming rights to Greenbrook Indoor Training Facility and allow you to negotiate as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. Floor is open for more discussion. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a work order authorization for the Rasco-Tullahoma traffic signal. Board, y'all know from previous discussions that we've been watching this intersection carefully. A few years ago when we connected Rasco Road from Getwell to the gap, it was from Getwell to Sweeney, it was from Tullahoma to Sweeney. But when we connected that, it then made Rasco an east-west arterial road all the way from Getwell to Highway 51. What we've noticed with that is an extremely large volume increase in traffic, which is, beat our road up a little bit, which we're going to address later this year. But also it's created a situation that we have concerns about at the Rasco-Tullahoma intersection. Right there's just a two-way stop on the Rasco side. The north and south traffic does not stop on Tullahoma, but it's become a concern. We had Dan Cordell of Civil Link went and did the traffic numbers for us. We thought at one time we would start with a four-way stop. We realized that we've bypassed the need of a four-way stop, and it's time to go ahead and go, with a signal there. So Dan's available, but it's my recommendation that we go ahead and make authorization to put that, start the process to put that traffic signal there. One thing that is important to note, there's a national vendor that went out of business last year that produces the metal that's used for these traffic signal mast arms. So that's caused a delay in the amount of time that it takes, to get these signals done. So that's why we want to go ahead now and start working on that, because it takes longer, than it used to 2 years ago.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Wheeler, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion?
There's not a lot left to say. He summarized everything. I want to brag on him.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on that diploma. I got
Maybe
drainage, I
the
got
delay
streets,
of the
so I need
time.
signalization now, right?
Likely the actual signal won't have to be paid for, the majority of it, until the next budget session, really. This was an unplanned for this year's budget, but it is something that surprised us, and the traffic flows were definitely warranted.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda, we're going to bypass the next item. I put that on the agenda thinking that I would have all the information I needed to make a recommendation tonight. I do not have that, so I'd like to bypass that. We'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Chris Wilson is helping me comb through some details, so we'll have a recommendation for the board at the February 18th meeting. So next on the agenda is the Springfest parking lot improvements change order request. Mr. Dan Cordell.
Mayor, board. I know y'all have all ridden by and seen the muddy mess that's out there right now. Believe it or not, it's everything subsurface is pretty much in. They're almost to grade, even though it doesn't. It looks like there's muddy tracks out there. It's essentially to grade. But in preparing the grade, when this project was bid, we were optimistic that we would be able to utilize the ring road that had been there since it was built. Basically and we were going to pave in between with grass utility corridors. That ring road has since disappeared, essentially. So this change order is for us to soil cement underneath that. We did go out there and take some bores. We thought there would be some gravel or structure beneath, but believe it or not, there wasn't much. So we're recommending them to soil cement that area as well as the areas they're prepping for the new asphalt. The new item is for them to do some milling to chop that, what is left of the asphalt up so we can reuse it in the soil cement area. It is an increase of $38,893. I have not been able to reflect if there are some deducts that we've encountered. I do not reflect that in this. It is not to the amount of 38,000. I think the deducts thus far around 10, but I don't have a way to calculate that until we get closer to them finalizing the asphalt. So what I'm recommending or requesting from y'all today is an approval to authorize them to do that work at an increase of $38,893 at this time.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion?
What's the estimated time?
They literally have approximately 7 working days of work left. It's just getting the work that's left is soil cement, which requires dry material or warmer temperatures above 40. And then, of course, the asphalt. And once we get the soil cement down, we can put it down as temperature allows. So we need a 7 to 8 day window, and then we can get done.
It is still a plan to have that completed before spring 2020.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne. Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a resolution authorizing our chief of police to assist other municipalities. Mr. Nick Manley, city attorney.
This resolution was it's allowed by state law. We're just trying to get everything in order as far as our procedures. I'm talking with Chief Moore, but this would just allow our chief and police department to continue to assist other municipalities in the state with investigations and searches and that type of thing. It's allowed under state law. This resolution will also just allow them that authority and have it in our minutes for tonight. So tonight, authorization for the mayor to sign this resolution.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the resolution, the Mayor Board of Aldermen of the City of Southaven authorizing the Chief of Police to approve reciprocal law enforcement assistance during civil emergencies and authorize you to sign as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a contract with Facilities Performance Group.
We recently went to RFP for maintenance for our facilities, and the best recommendation tonight is Facilities Performance Group, as recommended by the Public Works Department, and they submitted the most competitive package for consideration as part of the contract. It'll be a 2-year contract with their option to terminate with 30 days notice by either party. They also do the clean the fire between the police department, Snowden House, and the buildings of the city, including the police department, as like I said. Be $588 for the package for the court and Snowden Home, and then $658.85 for the police department cleanings, and then the remainder of the cleanings will be $1,550.59. So tonight, authorization for the mayor to sign the contract with Facilities Performance Group LLC.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is surplus of Southaven Police Department K-9.
This will authorize the K-9 Rex to be surplus to Officer Thomas Long Jr. Rex is an 8-year-old, and he served citizens as well, but tonight authorization to surplus that to Thomas Long Jr. as he's no longer needed for service with the police department. Mr. Long has signed personal liability of ownership and release, and that'll be included in the minutes tonight.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is our planning agenda. Ms. Whitney Cook.
Yes, sir. We have 3 applications on the agenda tonight. The first one is for subdivision approval. This will be for lots 13 and 15 of Silo Square Commercial Subdivision. And this is basically 2 lots adjacent to each other on the north side. This will put us at a total of 6 lots that should be under construction after tonight's approval. Both of them are 0.797 acres. There's no right-of-way with these, as we've already approved the right-of-way separately. So it's very standard. It meets all the bulk regulations, and we're requesting approval with no comment.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item number 1 on the planning agenda as presented tonight.
Second.
On item 1, we have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Item number 2 kind of goes hand in hand with the request that came from the Mid-South Outlet Shops last board meeting with Josh Krogh. Basically, we're adjusting lots 4 and 5, which are going to be the 2 lots surrounding the gas station on the hard corner, the northwest corner, right there around Tanger. As he stated, there is an interested party, a hotel, and we have to do the adjustments to make the site plan fit there. That being said, one of our concerns is lot 4 is shrinking quite a bit. We wanted to make sure that it was conducive to commercial build out when and if it got to a point to build out. Looking at the bulk regulations, it wasn't. So what we put a contingency on there is that the applicant was to put an agreement between the 2 lots for shared parking and shared access. They have agreed to that. So what we're going to have them do is put that easement in play when they record the plat, so that will protect that lot 4 and make it a buildable lot at that point in time. Like I said, they did agree to it. So with that stipulation, it was voted unanimously in favor of.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item number 2 on the planning agenda as presented. Second.
On item 2, we have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
The last application is a design review application from Medline Industries. This is going to be the 113 acre site you have down next door landing on I-55, 1.2 million square foot building. We had some adjustments to the access points for fire code. We had some adjustments made to the building itself. They did comply with those. They did a tree mitigation after doing a tree survey, and they did do a 2-to-1 planting ratio back, so it's a significant landscape design they've got all on 55 and 51 also. They did comply with everything else that we put contingent on that, including decorative lighting, variations on the materials on the building. So with those changes that we have submitted with tonight's application, we recommend approval.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item number 3 on the planning agenda as presented.
Second.
On item 3, we have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion?
Can I say something on that one?
No, we're gonna have to have a little more structure. We have a citizens agenda,
Okay.
so the discussion will need to be among the board. But we'll have opportunities if you'd like to speak later. Is there any discussion at all among the board? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is Mayor's report. A few things to update everyone about. This board is fully aware that we have been looking at a paving proposal that we studied extensively to bring our street paving in-house, hire our own crews and get our own equipment and start paving our city streets ourselves rather than contract that service out. We still believe that we can be more efficient, pave more streets that way. So we're going to continue that plan, but we're at a point with it being February the 4th that we do need to make a decision, with the schedule for this year. So the update to the board is we're going to continue to look for our operator position, as that position is key. That would be the supervisor of the crew. So we're going to continue to recruit that position. But at this point, we are going to move forward with the list that I've create, and I've sent out, I can always send the updated list out to you guys, but we're going to go ahead with our contracts now so we don't lose any time. Any discussion about that or questions about that? Next, I sent out a calendar invitation for a committee meeting to talk about the proposal to change the field surfaces at Snowgrove Park and Greenbrook Park to artificial turf from its current natural grass. I have some questions and just some other concerns that I want to discuss with the board. So I've requested a committee meeting. We do need to get moving with that. If we're going to do it this year, we got to start planning that because it has to be done in the off season. As soon as baseball and softball are over, we'll need to hit the ground running immediately. So if I've sent you an invitation, please respond back on that. I set that up with the General Operations Committee. I want to use that committee because most of my questions are not related to parks. It's more related to just the overall funding of it and the financial impact of it. So anyway, we'll have that meeting scheduled for February the 10th. And I think the time was 10 o'clock, 10 to 12 on February 10th. There's also, as all of you know, there's going to be a special board meeting on the next day, February the 11th. I try not to do it this way. I know that all of you guys have other schedules, so I try not to have two special meetings in the same week, but it's like putting a puzzle together sometimes, so I couldn't avoid that this time. So we're going to have on February the 11th the Comprehensive City Plan meeting. Mr. Watson, the planner in Oxford that we hired to work on the Comprehensive City Plan, will be here to present that to the board and answer any questions. As y'all know, this is a big deal. By state law, a city has to update their comprehensive plan every 20 years. And I believe we're 18 years in. A lot of things have changed in the city of Southaven in 18 years. We still have tremendous growth potential. The comprehensive plan is extremely important for us. Also, with zoning and things like that, to help it make sense to the citizens and for everything to make sense from a zoning perspective, it's extremely important. So that meeting will be, I think that one's scheduled for 10:30. No.
The special meetings was 10 to noon, and this turf is at 10:30 on February 10th. I'm looking at it.
Okay, so this one will be 10 a.m. until noon on February the 11th, Comprehensive City Plan meeting. Any questions about that? Okay, and then just an update. As y'all know, we're about to do a major expansion of our soccer program, and it will be like no other. We'll be where we have to have someone or some group to actually run the program, which will include a recreational program, a development type program, and then also competitive tournaments on the weekends. So we have started the process of meeting with people. Chris Wilson is helping me coordinate this and doing research. And so we've started those discussions, and we'll continue those, but we'll eventually come back before this board with a recommendation, or either bring it to a committee meeting to talk about it further before it's presented to the full board. But this is a very important decision. It will be, making the decision on who's going to operate this program for us. So I'll go ahead and tell you that I have big hopes for this program. I think that soccer at Snowgrove Park is going to be tremendous. I think that we will be known as the focal point of soccer in not only the North Mississippi, but I think that we'll be a significant player in the Memphis Metro for soccer as well. So there's a great demand for soccer facilities in this area. When you talk to these soccer experts, they will all tell you that they struggle to find places to play. So we believe this is going to be special. The geographic location of this is going to be tremendous. It's perfect. It will also allow us to use the fields that are on the western end of our city now on State Line Road. It will allow us to bring more use to those fields and to bring more tourism, draw more customers to that part of our city as well, because you'll need those fields as spillover fields in tournaments, and then you'll also need them for practice locations during the week as well. So extremely happy and excited about that. But just the update is, again, just to let you know that we're researching the operational side of it, and we'll have a recommendation for a committee soon. One other thing, as y'all know, City Hall is under construction. When we started the City Hall renovation project, that project is for the exterior and the first floor. You all know that the parking lot is in horrendous condition as well. It's needed to be resurfaced for several years now. We didn't do that purposely because we didn't want to spend the money and resurface it and then have construction vehicles on it, knowing that City Hall renovation was in the near future. So as soon as City Hall is redone, we get the construction crews off and out of there. We need to overlay the parking lot again. We have, as y'all know, a contract with Lehman Roberts. We don't have to bid it for them. That's already been board approved. We can just put that on our list with our street improvement fund to get that done. However, because of timing and just the scheduling demands of Lehman Roberts, I would like for the city to have another option where we can use a different contractor that may specialize in parking lots, if that's something that we can get, on a timeline that's better for the city. So for that reason, I'm asking for someone to make a motion to authorize a bid for the City Hall parking lot.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion about that?
Mr. Mayor, did we have an alternate whenever we did the Lehman Roberts, the street paving proposal?
We did. Dan, it's been so long. Dan, we
I don't remember either, but I couldn't remember if we named the other one as an alternate or.
We actually had an alternate that we, it was North Mississippi Driveway, but he retired, Mr. Billy retired. And we're in the process of renewing all those bids, but they won't be done until, I think these contracts run out July, end of July. So our plan is to transition and have an alternate at that time. So, but right now we do not know.
Mayor, do we have an alternative funding besides the street budget? I mean, I know we're so far behind on that. Do we have any other kind of source that we could?
We do. It's, the City Hall renovation project is being funded by the excess surplus, so it could be pulled from there as well. I mean, it obviously would be in addition to what the construction bid was for, but there is funding, there is some flexibility there to do that. So when we get the bids, we can make it, we can make a decision how we fund it, where we pull it from. But it needs to be done, one way or the other.
Right, I agree.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Holt?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. All right, and the last thing that I wanted to talk about again is a follow-up to some of our previous discussions. Y'all know that we discussed heavily the bike lane ordinance. We passed a bike lane ordinance that would, effective March 1, restrict parking in the bike lanes throughout the city. And I just want to say that I commend the board on a great decision to be committed to make our city more pedestrian friendly. I know some don't understand that because it's not all connected yet, but there's no question that when people look to move to our city, not everyone, but a large number of people, companies that want to expand here and bring their employees and their families, they're looking for cities that have recreational value. And that's not just a hypothetical. I use this as an example. When you look at Amazon, when they did their HQ2 project 2 years ago, they set the bid specs. They had every city in America bidding to have Amazon's headquarters in their city, obviously for the jobs and all the economic value that brings. Well, when you look into their bid specs that they provided to the cities, there's a large amount of material in there that asks, what can you give my employees? What kind of quality of life do you have? Are you pedestrian? It specifically asked about, walkable pedestrian options. And so it's important for our city to catch up. Southaven is still a young city, compared to most cities. And we have been way behind on pedestrian options. And y'all know that all the things that this board has done, the pending projects that will be under construction in 2020 that have been planned and worked on for many, many years, we're making big strides to become more pedestrian friendly. And I think that's a huge priority, and we need to stick with that. The reason that I'm here to talk about this tonight is I know that every board member up here shares this with me. We make a lot of tough decisions, and I advocate to you for a lot of tough decisions that are going to make changes in our city, changes for the better. And when we do that, there's no way that 55,000 people are going to always agree on everything. You know, everybody's got different opinions, you know, and we respect that. But while you're doing things that you are passionately believing are going to make our city better and improve our quality of life, take out the opinions. Never do we do anything that we know is going to hurt somebody. Like, we could go through anything that I know that I've been a part of for 6.5 years, and never ever have I advocated for one thing that was truly going to hurt one of our citizens. You know, we may vary in opinions on how important this is and how important that is, but never have we ever done anything that was truly going to hurt one of our citizens. Even if it helped many at the expense of hurting one, we never have done that. And so I've just been giving a lot of thought to the discussions about the concerns that have been raised, and I just don't have peace about it. I don't have peace about the ordinance that, you know, just across the board on every city street where there's a bike lane that we restrict parking. I don't think that every street is the same. And I think that when I truly listen to some very credible, you know, concerns about that, I don't think that's the best way to go. And I think that, and I'm asking the board tonight to reconsider with an alternate proposal. And my proposal is, I know that we've looked at different things. We've looked at adding a bike lane sandwiched in between the vehicle lane and a parking lane. And I'll just be real candid with everybody. I don't like that. I know it works in some places where the traffic is not as heavy, but I worry about people on a bike getting sandwiched. You know, if you're riding and a parked car pulls out, you have no escape route other than, you know, get hit by the car pulling in front of you or getting pushed into vehicle traffic. So I don't like the sandwich lane. I know that there's been other discussion about restricting the bike lane to just one side of the street and allowing everybody to park on one side but not the other. That's a great idea. The only concern I have with that is you're still going to have citizens that can't park on their own side, and then you're going to have, you take the chance of inconveniencing the citizens on the other side of the road by having all the cars parked on their side and blocking their parking space. So all that to say, I don't think that's the solution either. What I think the solution is, and I'm asking the board to reconsider, is that we repeal the ordinance that was passed, and then we go back to looking at a share the road concept, similar to what Alderman Payne talked about. You know, when Alderman Payne and I had the discussion in 2016, you know, he was one of the first ones that came to me and said, I want the bike lane to start in Greenbrook on Clarington. And I said, hey, great idea. And within 2 weeks, we had bike lanes on Clarington. All good intentions, not realizing what it would do. And since then, we've been sharing the road. So we've allowed people that, out of necessity, have to park in the bike lane, but still, we have bike lanes, and it's going to connect to a much bigger picture. So a long way to say, I think that we ought to repeal the ordinance that we passed and make it street specific. That way, it gives everyone the chance to look at it, because many streets are not going to cause a problem for people. Like, you're going to have a lot of them that, you know, in other cities that, you know, they're in arterial areas where it's not really a big deal. You're not hurting a household by restricting parking. So I think if we do it that way, we can look at each street specifically to make sure, like I said earlier, that we're not hurting somebody. You know, I don't want to hurt somebody. And so I guess what I'm asking tonight for the board to think about it, and if you feel compelled to do so, make a motion tonight to repeal the street-wide comprehensive plan throughout the city to restrict parking and bike lanes, and let us revisit that on a street-specific basis.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I'll second.
And Nick, since we're repealing something, does the motion, can it be made by any member, or does it need to be by the alderman that made the motion?
It's not a reconsideration, it's a repeal, so we might make it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Payne, a second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? No discussion, and again, I want to commend the lady that, and I apologize, I didn't write her name down, and I don't have my old agenda in front of me, but the lady that was here at the last meeting, I don't know if she watches, I don't think she watches the board meetings, not many people do, but I want to commend her, for the way that she expressed her concern. We hear a lot of concerns, and a lot of, I'm just being real candid, a lot of people have agendas, when they come to express their concerns about things. But every time that somebody comes to that podium, I know all of you do, and I do, I think about what they say, and I really do listen, and I go back and I try to advocate for what the right decision is. And so I commend her for being very credible and for being very courteous in the way she went about her business. And I did go look at her house. The next day I drove by her house, and she has a carport that has been enclosed probably many years ago. And what she said, she has room for 2 cars. And so even though I still think that you could have used a common sense approach, I can see her concern about having visitors over and then seeing a no parking sign right there. And so anyway, I just want to commend her for the way she presented her concerns, which were very credible, which led to this decision tonight. So, is there any other discussion at all about this?
So we'll have to make a motion in the future for each street.
That's what I would recommend. Like each street in the future, we would just look at that individually, and we would go out and just do. And we did do an assessment of these Clarington and Greenwood Parkway. There is still just a limited number of people there, but they do make a good point of their situation with the size of the driveways and having visitors. So. But if there's no other discussion, we had a motion and a second. Can we finalize that with a roll call vote?
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Hughes?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. That's all I have this evening. Next on our agenda is our citizens' agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak? We're going to try to limit to 3 minutes like we have in the past, so please be efficient. Come forward.
New Year.
Happy New
I
Year.
want to tell you you're doing a great job. I really appreciate the work you've done in your vision, and I support that. I spoke with Christy earlier today, and Whitney we resolved one issue, and George. So I like how quickly and efficiently things can be taken care of. On your parking in the bike lane, I come from a very large city, LA Orange County. I think it was Tuesday, Thursdays, no parking on one side, Monday, Wednesday, Friday on another, and then Saturday or something. So that could be a possibility to work on that. The item 3, if you could bring up the slide, we talked a little bit, but I didn't quite understand what you were talking about. Is there going to be, we're going to widen 55 interstate, correct? That's going to be widened to at least 3 lanes soon?
You talking about Interstate 55?
Interstate 55.
Well, that's a
north, south?
massive. It's a massive MDOT project, so no, the plan is to widen it to 10 lanes. So it's a tremendously large project that we've been talking to MDOT for many years about. At this time, there's no funding, for Mississippi expansion projects. All their money is being used for maintenance right now. So it is one of the top 3 projects in the state, but it's not funded yet.
Okay. What I look at is, are we going to have some kind of road coming along to get out of Lander Center to let people get south a lot of warehouses there, the trucks, to let traffic flow a little better in that region. Is that?
Yeah, Pepper Chase Road extension been discussed pretty
Okay.
extensively.
I didn't get by Civil Link to see the drawing of what they had, so that was my,
Yeah, it's still under discussion with MDOT on the exact route, but what you said, that's exactly the purpose of it. Pepper Chase dead ends now at the Lander Center. So there's a proposal to run Pepper Chase south, either to Star Landing or south to Highway 51 to allow a southern escape route for traffic at the Lander Center.
that's what I'm looking. Sounds like maybe you've been to Irvine, California, and your kind of vision is of that, where nothing can be done with, say, Colonial Hills or Carriage Hills. It's very small roads, but in Irvine, they actually made their bike paths. They made a lot wider area between the road and the houses. So you had green belts and cement sidewalks, bike paths off of the road so that there was a little bit of space between the cars and the houses. I don't know in future developments if that would be something.
Already done. Great idea. It's already done in future developments. Sidewalks are mandatory, so that will take care of that. So that's why, again, back to that discussion, it's a limited area. It's just in our older residential areas that don't have sidewalks. It's much more expensive to go back and add sidewalks or a multi-use trail that you refer to than it is to put a bike lane in. So if money wasn't an issue, you're spot on. That would be the perfect solution. But unfortunately, money is an issue.
I know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I appreciate your comment about California. I did live in California for a while. Not just that, but I know our board as well. We try to incorporate some things to Southaven that we've seen work well in other parts of the country. California does, from a recreational standpoint, obviously.
Some parts.
Some parts, right. But,
Some parts.
yeah. But just in general, we certainly can take some lessons, in that regard. So, but thank you. I appreciate those ideas.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the citizens agenda? Okay, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is our personnel docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the personnel docket as presented on this date.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is our city attorney's legal update.
Just first on the repeal of the ordinance, I'll draft a resolution to officially repeal the ordinance. That will be what's in the minutes. So, FYI, I've got access. We passed the ordinance. We actually have to pass a motion to repeal it as well. That resolution that'll be actually reflected in the minutes. So I just want to make sure the board understood that. Tonight, I've got a couple of quick items. Previously, we granted a 5-year personal property tax exemption to Alan Ritchie. And that was been approved by the Department of Revenue. So tonight, authorization for the mayor to sign this resolution for the final tax exemption with Alan Ritchie for 5 years, amount of $942,194 for personal property.
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries.
And then just authorization for the police department and fire department to accept a $1,000 donation from Tanger Outlets. Just have it for minutes. So, make a motion? Yeah, motion to authorize accepting the donation.
So moved.
Second.
Who made the second? Okay. We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Gallagher. Any discussion? Thank you, Tanya. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries.
And then authorization for the Lewisburg High School dance team to have their end-of-the-year banquet at the Snowden House on February 16th. They've turned the paperwork in. The Parks Department's reviewed and its recommendation tonight for approval since it's a public school within the county.
Make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Wheeler, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries.
And finally, it's the time of year for the file continuing resolution for the city's bond issuance pursuant to SEC requirements, authorization for the mayor to sign an engagement letter with Butler Snow and work with Chris Wilson to finalize the information needed to file the docket or the information for the continuing resolution as required by the SEC for all the bond issuance of the city.
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Wheeler, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is a utility bill adjustment docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the utility bill adjustment docket as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our claims docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the claims docket in the amount of $1,503,151.91, including domain checks.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the need to determine the need for executive session.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Gallagher. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The need this evening is to discuss claims regarding city infrastructure and then economic development within the city. Claims regarding a city assessment, economic development within the city, and general personnel. So is there a motion to declare executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter executive session.
Be right back.